Welcome everybody. So we talked about lots of stuff over the Business Growth Club. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, friend and partner, Dr. Jo North, looking very made for broadcast. This is a mood here. He's looking a little bit more scruffy than Joe and our wonderful guest coming on later on. We talked about business growth, but here's the more critical thing. Ideas are brilliant, great on paper, great in getting them out of your head, but it's all about that launch phase. And tonight's broadcast is about how to launch your business idea.
Absolutely. And it's something that, if we've got loads of great ideas, but that's no good if we don't do anything with them. And how do you get those great ideas off the ground, especially when you've got so many other things going on in terms of day job and, all of that stuff. So that's what we're here to explore, isn't it? And give you some tips and some insight and some great stories from Hannah as well, who's joining us.
Absolutely, Joe. And I love the way that you bring in that context of, if you read books and if you read everyone's got this windswept idea that it's great, you come up with a plan, you execute it, nothing gets in the way. Life, you're working in a vacuum, and that's palpably not correct here. So lots of things going on in your day-to-day job, lots of things going on in your existing business. So this is how to do all of this within that sort of context and framework. And we've got quite a packed show, I believe, tonight, Joe, as well.
Yeah, loads of great content. So we're going to share some really good insight that you can take away and apply for your own business and to get those ideas off the ground, and by reducing risk and doing it in a really time effective way as well. And then it's going to be awesome talking to Hannah, because we loved working with her, didn't we, in the Business Growth Club?
Yeah, I mean, all our delegates were superb. Hannah brought something really special to the Business Growth Club. I will say, just I suppose, a bit of housekeeping. Anyone who's not quite got their popcorn ready to watch live tonight, it's on replay. So if you're coming up on the replay, put hashtag replay in there. We know you're out there. You've got some comments. Me and Joe can pick them up and carry on any dialogue that we need to. But you're right, absolutely right. What I loved about the Business Growth Club, Joe, and I'm looking forward to the next one, is what a wide range of dynamic individuals we had who brought a lot of context, a lot of practical experience, that we all sort of shared in. But yeah, we've got a little treat there. I think she's not sure she's knocking back the gin at the moment in the room, but she'll be coming on in about 10-15 minutes time.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Hannah has worked really, really hard, and we'll hear about all of that. But that mindset is so important when you're looking to bring ideas to life as an entrepreneur. It's about putting the hard yards in, it's about doing the work, it's about doing it smart, but really, being determined that you're going to make this happen and getting it off the ground. I think there are so many quick win, do this and you'll achieve 6 figures, whatever number of figures overnight. And actually, is there a formula for success? Well, I think the formula for success, I don't know about you, Mahmood, is, really getting clarity on your idea. It's about having a plan. It's about being adaptable with that plan, knowing how your idea is going to serve your market and how you're going to create that demand. And then trying some stuff and getting on with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. And I think there's a couple of things that I would add to that well-explained position, is that obviously inertia is not what you want. So at some point you've got to hold your nose with some thought and actually just get on with it. And I think planning is great. And I think for you, Joe, I would say there's probably 2 plans that we've discovered that you need, isn't it? You need the project plan, so that's probably more timetable about when you're going to do things by certain stages. And you need your financial plan that goes with it as well. Which one would you say, if you're happy with that, if you agree with that, which one comes first, do you think?
I think it starts with the idea and where you want to get to, and then thinking through how you're going to make that happen. And by thinking through how you're going to make that happen, which effectively is the project plan, you can then start to say, okay, so how much will that be? How long will that take? How much do I think I can sell it for? So you start just to put in place all the different building blocks that you need. So your project plan really, I think, informs the cost base. But you might want to go back to your project plan once you've worked through all the numbers, because there might be some stuff you want to change around phasing, or you might have been too racy with the numbers or overly conservative, and you might just want to adjust some timings as well. So start with the project plan, build the numbers, go back to it, and get it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's 2 things that come from that. One, it's not a straightforward do X and then do step 1, step 2, step 3. There's a back and forth. I'm very much of the opinion that before you even deal with the numbers, you've got to have your story. You've got to have your idea about which direction your business is going. So write the story and narrative, the project plan if you want, and then the numbers can actually overlay on that. And you're quite right. You're going to have a back and forth. So many a time when working on a business plan or a launch plan, you've got some idea what you think it's going to involve. You've got to identify the steps, where the risks are. You can put the numbers on, and you can always sort of model and play around with the numbers. So I think they go hand in hand, but I would certainly get your project plan first as an outline and then reflect the numbers from that plan.
Yeah, sure. And I think the only thing that is certain, because you'll need to change the project plan and you'll need to change the costs and projected revenues along the way, but the only thing is certain is that the plan you start off with and the one you ultimately think you're going to deliver isn't actually what will happen in reality. And be prepared for that. That's part of the process, you know. But without a plan, then there isn't the direction, there's not the control, there's not the process, because, you know, controlling how much you're spending, what you're spending it on, doing the measurement, feeding back, you know, getting that loop back into what you're doing is really important.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Jo. It's not a straitjacket, and I think as soon as you write a plan, just like as soon as you sign off a budget, it's out of date the moment it's signed off. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you've got to be realistic and adaptable. Did you find a similar thing when we got together, by the way, and started the Business Growth Club, in terms of that we're taking our own medicine and actually reflecting that trajectory?
Yeah, so when we started the Business Growth Club from scratch, didn't we, both of us? What we did first of all was actually follow our own process, which is to start getting really clear on the idea. So there were loads of different ways we could have run the Business Growth Club, what we could have called it, how we could have done it. But we got very, very clear about the value that we wanted to deliver. And you know, we can express that through, first of all, you get our two very complementary and different skills and experience. We share the same values and we share the same approaches, but you get, you know, these two experienced business brains and creative brains working with you on your business. And also we face up to the nitty gritty. We help people work through some of the tougher stuff and really, you know, get to grips with numbers and all those sorts of things, and, you know, getting out there and promoting themselves and how they do that. So getting clear on that value proposition is super important. And about 70% of innovations fail, or business ideas fail, because they're not clear. And because they're not clear, nobody wants to buy them. Yeah. And if you're not clear on your idea before you do anything, before you do any project plan or anything else, I don't mean you, I mean, you know, yeah, then how the heck can you have a clear project plan and a clear financial plan? How the heck can you expect anybody to buy into it and support it? So really doing that work in the early stages to get that clarity is super helpful.
I agree with you. I remember our first conversations when we actually, I think most of the time we spent was actually defining the proposition, defining what we both brought to it, defining what the fit was. And I remember that framework was quite exciting, actually, because that actually then made everything else much easier. So when we talk about numbers, marketing plan, about how it's going to work, that was much easier just to go back to that core vision. And I think you're right, it's focus. And I think all of us we can get tempted by distractions, we can get tempted by shiny baubles, we lose faith, we don't have milestones, we think, well, let's go and try this. And all you end up with is something that's quite wobbly. So you need that bit of clarity at the beginning. Jo, have you got a thought, by the way, about what is it that prevents that wobble for businesses when they come to launch?
How to prevent a wobble. So I think doing some early testing, cheap, quick, cheerful testing, just gives you some confidence that there's some mileage in it, and don't just ask your family and your best mates. They're bound to say, yeah, it's great, or no, it's rubbish. And, you know, somewhere in between. How helpful is that? I'm not sure. So try it out with real people who might potentially buy from you. So do some testing, and in the Business Growth Club, we've actually got a load of different ways that we can help people build confidence with their ideas. So some of the things are, you know, we've got lots of them. I'll just mention a few, but create a simple, cheap landing page and a waiting list. You know, start pushing social media and other things towards that landing page and see how interested people are in it. Have conversations, have virtual coffees with people and test the idea out. Lots of things you can do before you just go, and dive in feet first.
And it doesn't require a great deal of investment or expenditure anyway. It requires, I suppose, just an attitude and a mindset that says, you know what, I'm going to see if somebody actually believes in the idea. And I think I think that's good, because I know we're both believers of agile. We're both believers in terms of lean, getting it quickly. And I think there's a danger, isn't there, about designing, over-engineering something, and then suddenly nobody actually wants to buy it because it's not fit for purpose. It's not what the customer wants. The design in your head is not what the customer sees, and all the rest of it. So asking, and you can do it quick and cheaply, I would say, just to get that initial feedback, an idea.
Yeah, perfect is the enemy of good. I think another really good tip is to separate the idea from yourself. So it's about creating the perfect balance of being passionate and committed and loving the idea, but also seeing it as a separate entity from you. So depersonalize it a little bit. So that gives you scope to test, if it doesn't quite work out, then you're not associating that with, so many people think, well, I'm worried that it won't work and then I will be a failure. Yeah. Well, you are not, and again, not you, Mahmood, but I say to people, you are not the failure. The idea hasn't worked out as you'd hoped it would. So learn from it and go again. But it's the idea, and seeing that as something separate, to be nurtured, cared for, developed, challenged, stretched. And also it makes it a lot easier to take on board critical feedback that's helpful, because you're not, you don't feel like you have to defend it so much. You can actually really listen.
Yeah, you're emotionally disconnected from that. I think you've got to have that. And yeah. And I think people, especially if it's a new thing, you feel very emotionally connected to that. And you actually, quite rightly, I like that idea of separation of you from the idea. I mean, I know there's a very well-worn quotation of the light bulb, 10,000 iterations. But literally, I think anything you take for granted nowadays in your life was not like that when it was first launched. It's gone through iterations, it's gone through failures, it's gone through setbacks. It's a natural part of the business course. And I would probably say that if you don't have setbacks in your business career, then you're probably heading yourself up for a big fall at some point.
Yeah. And by having that separation and that objectivity, you also know when to quit. And there are some ideas that you can take so far, and then actually, you've tried everything, and it is time to either rest it for a while and rethink and regroup, or stop completely. And that's a judgment call, isn't it? Do you keep going, keep trying and trying and trying, or do you stop? But by having that a bit of space and seeing the idea as something of itself, you can make those decisions more wisely, I reckon, anyway. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be that. You're quite right. I think entrepreneurs and business people, you've got to have something in your mindset. And I know we're going to talk to Hannah in a moment about mindset in terms of the work that she does. That's got to have that mindset that's strong and resilient, that actually looks at something in I don't mean a clinical cold light of day, but actually an emotional attachment that looks at that as it stands in itself and say, is it a viable? Sometimes these things aren't. I've tried many things in my own business career that haven't worked. You just sometimes got to cut the cord and walk away from it.
Yeah, I like to think, I'm going to mix my metaphors now, but I like to think of ideas as like baby birds. Yeah. They need to be, incubated, kept, nurtured, fed, watered. You need to teach them things. You need to learn things from them, as they grow. So really, look after them and see where they take you. But get the idea out there, because I said I was going to mix my metaphors. The other metaphor, in my mind, I sometimes imagine this huge mountain. If all the ideas that had never happened, the great ideas that had never happened throughout time that humans have thought of, we just did 0.5%, 1% of them. Imagine, how far forward we'd be. Imagine what a difference that would make. So you've got a great idea, then do something with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked in previous broadcasts. In previous broadcasts, we've talked about getting the idea out there, not completely eliminating. And within that idea that you're generating, there's got to be something there. There's got to be something that's going to work. So yeah, absolutely, Joe. What about, so we talked about plans, we talked about project plans, we've talked about financial plans, we've talked about objectivity. Do you have any tips to share about how people can maintain that objectivity? Sort of practical things. I mean, I've got a couple of I'm thinking of, but in terms of how people can maintain that distance between themselves and their business.
Yes. First thing is step away from it. So if you're immersed in it, if you're feeling super close, then it's really important to step away and do something else. I mean, it could be for 20 minutes, it could be for a week or 2 weeks or longer, but just make sure you're always stepping back and getting that sense of perspective. And I remember one of the activities that we did, Mahmood, didn't we? We thought about the Empire State Building. And
all those different views, yeah.
Yeah. So what would it look like, if you're looking at it from the street? What would it look like if you, just walk through the front door? You're going up the elevator. You're at the top. You're looking out. And what we need to do sometimes is move ourselves up and down our idea. Be in the detail, right inside the building. And sometimes take the elevator right to the top and look out onto the horizon and see what else is going on there. And have that mental agility to shift perspective. Yeah,
and I think you're quite right there. And I think having that ability to breath, go away from your business, actually look at it, whether you want some space, so whether it's worthwhile, finding some quiet area in your house, booking a couple of rooms in a hotel or a room in a hotel for a couple of hours, some space to completely detach and get some distance between your brain and your day-to-day toil. Might be a good way to actually keep that sort of freshness.
Yeah, and I think the community, the sort of community we built in the Business Growth Club, getting other people's input and a different take on what you're doing, but also you hearing their stories and where they're at and what they're working on, learning from that. And we did, our process through the Business Growth Club, isn't it? It's about taking the ideas to grow the business and moving them forward. What was your favourite bit, or what were your favourite bits that we did?
I think the favourite bits were, for me, that you introduce the overall framework, you let people loose, they go off into their breakout sessions and share ideas, and then they come back and actually share that. So for me, that was quite delightful, watching that process go into place. And I think for me, the best part of it all was at the end of it, when actually going from nothing to something, you could actually clearly see a tangible output. And I love outputs, I love results. So seeing that and having a part to play, that was for me probably my favourite part of all of it. Yourself?
Too. I loved as well the fact that when everybody's sharing their business plans, they had the shoulders back. They were standing a few inches taller, and they were proud of what they'd done. And feeling good about your business means that you'll go on and deliver those outputs. You'll feel more confident, and it's a great place to be. I just love that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Listen, what we're going to have to do, I believe we've got a very patient special guest waiting for us, Hannah. So what I'm going to say is, Hannah Bell, we're going to talk about Brainy Bunch. So I'm going to let Hannah explain what that is exactly. Wonderful character. I'm going to bring Hannah in now, if I can use this technology. Here we go. Our production crew, there she is, looking marvellous. Hannah, good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
No, our pleasure. So, Hannah, listen, can you just share with our listeners a bit more about yourself, your background? All I said was Brainy Bunch. I thought I don't want to ruin this, and I'll let you actually introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, so good evening. My name is Hannah Bell, and my business is Hannah Bell Clarity. So I deliver workshops to support people, whether that's individuals or organisations, with the knowledge as to really how to understand your brain, how to work with it to improve resilience and well-being. And I do that via, I've put together a host of techniques. So we've got applied neuroscience, positive psychology, and neuro-linguistic programming, all the best elements, I think, but I'm bound to say that, to take so that I can give people something that they can take whatever it is that they need from that event or from the workshop or from the one-to-one session. So it's all very, very bespoke, because our brains are a fantastic bit of equipment, but they don't come with any instructions, and it's quite good when people leave and they feel that they've got some rough instructions, a bit of a rough guide for their own brain.
Perfect. So with that in mind then, so I'm intrigued, what is it that sort of led you to come to the Business Growth Club in the first place?
I had always looked at different, because there's so much out there, isn't it? There's so much noise around different business clubs, and some of them promise the world with £1 million income revenues. And I think that I was always a little bit put off, and I will be honest, I didn't understand my numbers. I was very reactive in my business. And it was when that I saw what you were doing, and you came on personal recommendation from somebody that I've done some collaboration with, and it just felt right. It felt that your blended expertise would be perfect for me, so that I could take what it is, a little bit like my workshops. I could take what I needed from you guys. And sorry.
No, keep going, sorry.
No, and I think as well that it was at the time that my Brainy Bunch that you mentioned before, that it was starting to pick up a little bit of momentum, and I felt that if I didn't get some support with it, that it may be that I'd become so close and yet so far. So I think that was also in the back of my mind as well.
Yeah, and you were really brave, I guess, to sign up and think about innovating in a time where, 2020 really hasn't been the year that most of us expected, if we're honest. So I guess why now, and why at that time?
I think that the Brainy Bunch, and I'll tell you a little bit about them, because we keep mentioning them, but nobody will really understand what they are. That I developed the Brainy Bunch because I was working with so many adults who would speak about having anxiety and that had low mood as a little one, but they didn't really understand what it was, that sickly feeling in the morning before school. If you had very supportive, nurturing parents, you might be kept off school more than you needed to be. And if you didn't, you were sent on your way. So I wanted something that would really help people to share with their children in their lives through a family of chemicals and brain parts, and they bring together all different concepts of what is actually happening inside our wonderful brains. And it's fun, it's lively, it's informative, and each of the characters, they've got different personalities, and it's a really great way to empower children so that they've got the tools and the techniques, so that as they grow up with the Brainy Bunch, that they understand a little bit more about what's going on the inside. So I think that the actual push was the fact that I'd written a book, I'd done nothing with it. I'd sat on it waiting for, I'm not really sure what it was, waiting for it to be perfect. And I really felt that I needed some expertise.
Perfect. So really, I mean, what Jo's alluded to already in terms of having a clear idea about your objective, what you wanted to achieve, recognising, I suppose, that you probably were over-engineering something. So as you came into the process, what difference in terms of your own sort of personal journey as you're developing your own sort of business growth plan, did anything change from the end to the beginning? If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it absolutely does. I think that what was really special about it is that I'm not sure what I expected, which I think was good, because I think I might have been frightened away a little bit. And I found that it was a real journey. And there were some weeks that I would think, I don't understand my business. I don't really know where I'm going with it. And I think that with support, it was getting over the hills and coming down the other side and really being present with what was happening. And I think that because with every week by week, the modules were just perfectly formed, so that it was a kind of guide that I could practice what we'd learned in the workshops and the breakout room. Give it a go. I could implement it. I could see the progress then and there, and then I could go back and gather more. But I think to experience this fully, that you've got to take and really be okay with being uncomfortable. Because I didn't really understand sitting where I am now. And when I started this journey, I was far too close to my business. I was absolutely immersed in it, and I had created a lot more work for little value than I really needed to. So now I feel that I understand what I'm doing. I've got my key performance indicators. I'm guided through my business, and what I think was really became quite apparent is that when we first went into lockdown before Business Growth Club, that I was not ready. I wasn't ready for the virtual world, and there was a real panic. This time, when it's happened again, I just feel, right, well, how am I going to use that time? What can I focus on? And there's a real sense of calm because I've got the foundation, I've got the framework with my business plan, my strategy, then I know that it's solid. So it was these last few weeks, I think, as well, that had like a different realization.
So you definitely felt in yourself like a difference in terms of how you approach your business. Joe asked the question earlier on, which I'm going to ask of you now, put you on the spot. Was there a particular module that stood out for you as one of your favourites?
I think when we looked at I don't think it was module 3 around, there was like a leadership questionnaire. And it was looking at really what it was about, really sorting out what do you actually really need to do, what can you stop doing, and where do you need to focus, so that I could refine the work I was doing. And I think that's where I saved, you helped me save lots of money around things that was just really noise around the business. I think that you both described it as a workshop, and then that's given me more time. So I quite like that, and knowing when to outsource and when the right time is to collaborate. Whereas before I was so protective that I didn't want to share with anyone because I don't know whether I was fearful of somebody not delivering it to the same standard. But now I think if you find someone that has your shared values and you trust them, that then it's great to bring on associates and outsource and collaborate wherever you can, because there's just loads of learning in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I learn from Mahmood every time we speak and every time we do something together, and I really love our collaboration that started in March. But you put the work in, and you were resilient, and said, right, I'm seeing this through. I'm going to work on it. So I think it's like everything. People get out what they put in, and you did. Put in all the great work as well, and we've just absolutely loved working with you. And Brainy Bunch, what a brilliant thing, and it can help so many people. Tell us all about Brainy Bunch. Tell us about your plans. Tell us about what you're hoping to go on and do next with it. So where's it going?
Well, it's I have a publisher. So I'm working with Small World, Big Imaginations, who are educational publishers. And the first book has gone, and it's being tweaked. I think it's called. I think there's probably a real special editorial name for it, but it's been tweaked. And then there's plans for a series of books, so that then I can bring lots of elements of the different personalities, why they look like they do, why that they're shaped like they are, and about how we can use the tools and the learning from them so that we can really grow resilient children. And if you think about what's happening now with schools and the pandemic, that there's so many uncertainties, that I wanted to create something, a book that grew with a child. So it may be that it's just pictures, so a beautiful explosion on every page, working with a fantastic illustrator, Liz Million, who is just a mental vitamin in herself. And that explosion is just so that each time that the child looks at the book, that they'll see something different and something more. And it may be pictures at first, but then it could be a reference book as they get older, to really think, right, hang on a minute, right, I'm not feeling great. What do I need to do to charge up my brain battery? Where am I on the mood meter? So it's lots of different elements. And yeah, I am. I'm really proud of it, because it's about your why and the reason why you do it. And I think it's that gave me that motivation to really push, of knowing that adults' lives could have been changed really if I'd have had something like that. I think my life would be a bit different.
It's inspirational. You know, you are inspirational. You're inspirational when you talk about it. I think it's inspirational what you're doing, and big congratulations for your publishing deal as well. And that's going to be so awesome. I think as well, you know, it's not just the Brainy Bunch. You've got your other core business activities, which are all about organisation development and coaching and all sorts of things. So I'd love to know a bit about that as well, and just, you know, give us a headline about how do you manage to get your idea off the ground as well as keeping your core business running successfully.
Yeah, I think that, because my head, you can probably tell, is quite a busy head. There's lots going on inside there. So I think it's that I've got a kind of ritual, a bit of a routine or habit where I'll capture all my ideas down. So I might wake up in the night and think of something. I might be driving to deliver a keynote, and then I think of something else. And that was something that I probably I was losing a lot of the creativity because I wasn't getting it down. But I think it's all around me and managing myself, because it's a small company, and if I'm ill and I'm not well and I'm not able to get out there, then that is letting people down. And my values are all around being reliable and delivering on your commitments. So I think that it's that schedule that I have time in for creativity. My own self-care is absolutely non-negotiable, and it really has to be. And it's balance, but sticking to it, because if I don't have rules and boundaries, even if I've made them myself, then that's when I'm unproductive, or I'll speed up and I'll get a little bit faster. And then that's where I miss out on loads of stuff. So I think it's about if somebody is running a business, or that they're working a job, that they've got a career and that they've got something that they want to really bring to market, that I think that having that time and space to be creative, because your brain needs to be calm. People talk about creativity as if it's a kind of
a tap you could just turn on,
like as if I could just turn it on, or it's something that do we really need? But creativity is about survival, isn't it? And imagine cavemen and cavewomen days, that it was the strongest species, the most creative, that knew where to go for food. They survived. So I think it goes back to real primal days, and that it's about embracing your creativity, and everybody has it. It's just sometimes I think that we've forgotten how to tap into it. And when you look after yourself and give yourself that real time, that kindness space, and that self-belief, because I will admit, the Brainy Bunch are about 3 now, and they've been in schools. We've had proof of concept. We've done the marketing, because when you ask children and young people about it, you really do get honest answers. But I was like, I'm not sure what I was waiting for, and that's why that I'm really grateful to Business Growth Club, which was like, right, let's just get it out and have that self-belief as well, because there's no idea that's a daft one. Anybody can have loads of ideas, but it's about having that real passion to bring it to a stage where you can hand it on to the experts and really get something special out there.
So do you feel more confident in yourself then, Hannah, to take that next steps forward now that you've had that sort of initial feedback, now that you've actually got it out there?
Yeah, I really do, because before it was something that probably friends or colleagues would say, oh, Hannah's done this, and I was a little bit, because when you say, oh yeah, I've wrote a book, and then when you say, I used to say, oh, I've wrote a book, but it's only a children's book. Now I've stopped saying that now, because I'm incredibly proud of it, and really that was down to collaboration, and that was with Go Well, with Sarah Price and her amazing team, that they absolutely shared the passion, and they kept saying, everybody's saying they need the book, and we know you've written it. So
Hannah, you say it's only I mean, I know you don't now, but you did say back then it's only a children's book. But on many people's wish list, bucket list, ambitions, whatever you want to call it, they say, I'd love to write a children's book. Because it gives that space to really engage on a different level, to, you know, find parts of our imagination that we don't normally get to use. It's a wonderful thing to do. So, and it's going to do so much good as well. It really is.
Did we get an idea when's the book like to be coming out, Hannah, by the way?
I'm going to get a signed copy.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I'm going to join you on that.
Yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the year. It's been delayed a little bit. I think there's like lots around some of the book fairs and festivals. So yeah, I'm hoping definitely by the end of the year. It would be nice for Christmas because it really, it would be lovely for children to get that in their stocking.
Yeah.
So what's your 12-month? Shall we do we agree 12 months, Jo, or 3 years, or 25 years plan? What's your next 12 month going to look like?
Well, I feel that I'm agile now, and that I've got real flexibility. So I've got some virtual products that I can deliver, webinars. My one-to-one sessions can be online. So I feel that I've got a lot more capacity to be able to still be out there and helping people during whatever the future lies for us. I am looking at, because I've now stopped doing things that really weren't serving me or the business, I can really focus and refine some of the products that I do. So around the leadership, the corporate work, and start to really put myself out there to be to work with people that I really want to work with, that I know that's going to bring me joy. And then in turn, I can then invest in a community project that I do, working with children and young people. So I do believe that when you put good stuff out there, that it comes back. So I'm looking at expanding and working with some different people, some different associates, so that I can look at tendering for bigger pieces of work. So yeah, a lot more ambition, I think, than I had before I met you both.
Fantastic. And you know, you said that if you put good things in, then good stuff comes out. Well, you just help. You know, you're so generous. You were, you know, as was everybody in the Growth Club. You were generous with each other, but you are so generous in what you do with your customers, with anyone who works with you, that you absolutely, you know, deserve any generosity. Good outcomes, you know, that come your way. You really are wonderful to work with, and all of this couldn't happen to a nicer person, for sure. You know,
absolutely. Absolutely, and it's that thing, as we've always said, that don't chase. And the money's important. Don't get me wrong, but don't chase the money. Have the vision. Have the fact that somebody wants to engage with you. You're delivering something. The money will naturally follow that path.
That why and the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's probably a better way to put it, Jo.
No, it's just a similar thing, isn't it? And Hannah, if people are, you know, if anyone's listening who's sort of really interested in learning more about the leadership coaching as well that you do, can you just give us a summary of that and let us know how people can find out how they can contact you there, and also if they're interested in the Brainy Bunch for other things, how they can contact you there too?
Yeah, I think all my details and my social media connections and email address are around there. Please contact me directly. My one-to-one sessions are, it's a bespoke session. It's transformational. It's 3 hours. It's very, very intense, but time flies, so I'm told. And that's where we work with, it could be that somebody is struggling with what's happening in the world right now. It could be that someone has performance anxiety around interviews. Everybody has their own stuff going on, and the uniqueness of our brain means that sometimes when they go a little bit become unhelpful, that is when you need a bit of help. So that is where that I blend together all the work that I mentioned before, and then I use hypnotherapy. And my one-to-one sessions are, they're a real heart project. I love doing them. I love just watching people just flourish and get the life that they really deserve to have. So that's my one-to-ones. And then my workshops and change programs, then they're bespoke to any organisation, depending on what it is that they need, the people that they're working for, whether it's resilience, whether it's wellbeing, and yeah, I've got lots of tools in my toolkit so that I can really be quite flexible in whatever that I provide. And I just love going into different organisations and different brains. It's just not really like a job. I just love it.
Yeah. Comes through, doesn't it, Mahmood? It really comes through.
Yeah, very much so. And I think, as I said, in terms of when you're in the Growth Club, everyone was very generous with their time amongst each other. Jo, I have to say heads up to you as well, by the way, because I learned quite a lot, and I'm still learning every time we have a conversation. There's something I've missed out on and didn't quite think of it. So, Hannah, put you on the spot here a little bit. You've embraced this whole concept. I know you said you were a bit nervy when you came in, not quite sure. You've embraced it. It's not easy where you are. That sort of path to success is not somebody gave it to you. You had to work for it. What would you share with somebody as a tip for business growth, and what if they've got any preconceptions about joining a peer group like the Business Growth Club to help their business?
I think that the support from yourselves and the group, it was just the best energy. And I felt, because it can be quite isolating, it can be quite lonely when you're working for yourself, especially if you're used to working with a big team. And it felt like that we had and still have a team, a collaborative group of people that knew how you felt, that you could talk about issues around whether it was slow payment, whether it was that you can't just get an idea off the ground. And I think that connection was absolutely priceless. And then I think when you add in all of the work, all of the product, all of the exercises that you had to do, that you could see people visibly week by week just growing and stretching and sharing their achievements. And I think that I was probably the least likely person to ever do something like this, because I thought, well, my business is okay and I'm doing all right. So, and my ambition really was just to probably get by. And then that's where that you're not in that real area where you just shine and flourish and get the best out of you. So I think that if anybody's listening now thinking, shan't I, that it's absolutely, I cannot recommend it enough, because I think and everyone's journey has been so different, which is why I love the fact that it's not like a sausage machine kind of business club, which I have that I've heard of before. It's so personal to everyone's individual business, and it does it, and it just blends beautifully. And I think that having time to come away from your business and to look at it with fresh eyes just gives you a new outlook, and you can see potential that you wouldn't have seen there before. And it actually feels now as if that I have like a real business, whereas before I probably thought that I was just playing at it, and I was missing out on lots of opportunities. But
that's a wonderful thing to hear.
Yeah, phenomenal. Absolutely. So well, we've loved every minute of it, haven't we, Mahmood?
We have indeed. I believe we've got one of your people that you referred to earlier on. So, Jo, can we just? I think we met this person last week, didn't we? So there's Sarah Price.
Yes.
And I believe I know you've worked with Sarah before, Hannah.
Yeah.
You know, Hannah. So yeah, fantastic. So my hats goes off to you, Hannah, because I, personally speaking, I don't normally gush or anything. By the way, in fact, I'm probably the least gushy type person. Jo's agreeing with their heads up, but to actually see there from the beginning and see that transformation going, and I know you still got work to do. I know you still got ambitions and plans, and the show's not over. But I just thought it was a superb illustration that if you put your mind to something, that how much you can actually achieve in a very short period of time.
Massive step change. You've done awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, thank you both of you for absolutely everything, and then the rest of the group as well. And I know that we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, we're planning some sort of virtual pre-Christmas reunion. I don't know if I've just sort of broken the what is it called, the press embargo on that. We are probably together on a virtual, celebration or something to, catch up and see how everybody's getting on.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, Hannah, thank you very much for spending the time to come across tonight. So we're just going to put you back into the green room. So you can now change your diet of water to something more stronger if you want to. When I was talking to Hannah before she came on, she's been that absolute professional of sticking to water and not actually doing anything else. Not that I'm implying anything untoward. Hannah, so listen, generally, best wishes for it. You're going to have a great future in front of you, continuing future, and thank you very much for spending the time with us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been absolute pleasure to do this journey with you. Thank you.
Perfect. Now, Jo, I suppose then, what are we going to be? So we're coming to the end of this broadcast here. So we've got a show next week. What's on the show for next week?
So we continue to talk about business growth in different ways, don't we? So we've got some really good. We're hoping to have some fantastic resources to share, which will be the key stages, really, sort of step by step, how to take you from where you want to be. From where you are now to where you want to be. I can't get my teeth in.
It's been a long day for all of us. So you're doing brilliantly.
Yeah. And so we're here every single week at this time, aren't we? So 6 o'clock we're going live, and our aim really is in these weeks is to help you and your business grow and navigate its way through and keep innovating and keep pushing for that next level of success. And we'll be here to help you do that, won't we, Mahmood?
Yeah, for sure. And if you're coming up on replay, #replay, we'll pick it up. If you're interested in joining the waiting list for the next iteration of the Business Growth Club, we haven't quite decided on the final numbers, but we are going to be limiting the size of the Business Growth Club. So I think we're looking for 25, 30 maximum. We're not going to go beyond that number. We've started a waiting list here. We're going to be announcing more details over the next few days. So if you're interested in wanting to be added to that waiting list, being part of finding out what's going on and ready for the launch in mid-January, then by all means add a comment, add your emails in there, and we'll add you to our waiting list. Yeah,
and we've got all sorts of activities to really help you through these last few months of the year and hit 2021 in as good a place as possible. So you'll get that all these free resources by tuning in, joining the waiting list, and then we'll keep helping you as much as possible. We love having your questions, and we love having any suggestions for things you want us to cover to help you in the coming weeks ahead.
100%. So everybody, thank you very much for your company tonight, and it's good night from me.
It's good night from me too. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Have a good week, everybody. Let's do that.